Hey guys, I'm your host, Hannah Wolf.
And I'm Mallory Goldsmith.
And welcome back to MBC. So Mallory, what's your favorite Marvel television show or movie?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Guardians of the Galaxy on that one. How about you, Hannah?
Well, mine's actually WandaVision, and the next people that are coming up have a lot to say about that.
Hello, MBC, and welcome back to our new segment, What Just Happened on This TV Show. And we're going to be talking about today the WandaVision series. I am your host, Connor Baker. And man, what 9 episodes. It feels odd that we're kind of in this like series of like not episodes after like a year or so without Marvel content due to the pandemic. Now it's like poof, like a Thanos snap. So I kind of want to start this conversation with, overall, through all 9 episodes, what was your guys' favorite moment from the series?
Okay, there were so many. And like we said before, spoiler warning. I think while there were a lot of moments that made me like freak out, the one that like hit me the hardest was when Pietro showed up. I love Peter Maximoff in the X-Men movies, so when I saw him on my screen, I flipped out. Definitely an amazing moment. Definitely fan service, but an amazing moment.
My favorite moment was actually when Agatha was revealed as the villain. I did not expect that. You know, I had been led to believe that the main antagonist was the Colonel, I think. I forget his official title. The guy who works for, I believe it was, Sword.
Hayward?
And, I'm sorry? Hayward. Yeah. Hayward. And I mean, he was still an antagonist, but obviously Agatha Harkness was pulling the strings the entire time. That was a shock. I'm very rarely shocked in, like, while watching. I especially liked the little jingle where it's like, it's Agatha. It was very like clever. I loved the subversive nature of it, like it was parodying prior works. And it just, to me, it was a very nice aspect of what was a very enjoyable series. I mean, I could analyze it like in more depth, but I wanna give Shobha a turn.
When Vision says, I'm a proud papaya, I think that's the most slapstick thing that he can say, and it's something that you wouldn't expect from him because he's an android, but I love that moment. And the second one is actually after Agatha gets Wanda out of her flashback. I think the flashbacks are so integral to Wanda's character development, and we've never seen it in previous Marvel films. So when it came on here, I was like, yes, I wanted this and I loved it. And the reveal when they were watching sitcoms and that's when her parents were killed, it was just mind-blowing.
I think for me, I kind of agree with Ariel in a sense. I think that kind of Pietro thing, it caught me off guard because I legit, spoiler warning again, I thought he was going to be originally like I thought there was going to be a multiverse thing. I was not expecting the end scene, which that is something I kind of want to bring attention to next with Marvel and stuff. That end scene, I think, with Pietro, unfortunately, it left more to be desired. I was not expecting Ralph Boner to be the name of the person.
It was kind of like, maybe it should have been expected because Agatha had been mentioning her husband Ralph for the whole series. Like, we had never seen him, but she'd been mentioning him. So, like, maybe we should have seen it coming, and we were just blindsided by the fact that they chose that actor.
I believe that Pietro's soul, like Peter Maximoff, his soul is in the rabbit that Agatha's always holding. Because there's something about the rabbit. It's always there with her, and she's always trying to protect it, which it's a very minor detail, but I think it's significant.
I interpreted that as just a classical witches familiar, circa traditional movie tropes. But that's a very interesting theory. I'm curious to see how it pans out.
Theory that I saw was that the rabbit's name, Senor Scratches, whatever. In the comic books, Agatha Harkness has a son, and his last name is Scratch. I believe his name is Nicholas Scratch. So people saw that as a reference to that character.
Another thing I really enjoyed was the inclusion of Monica Rambeau, rather. Maria is her mother, but specifically the fact that she seemed to develop powers. You know, a friend of mine said that in the comics, Monica Rambeau is a mutant, circa like the X-Men franchise, which are now able to be introduced into the Avengers, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I guess the idea of having mutants currently in the show is lovely, because it's like expanding the universe, but also just the idea of this person developing powers and then exploring her kind of existence would be really interesting. Now, I'm a little disappointed that while she did clearly display powers, it was not explained within the context of the show.
I think we could honestly probably talk about this for another hour, but we do have a lot more shows coming up. We do have a Falcon and a Winter Soldier coming soon, so who knows what will happen, and who knows, maybe this crew will be back. But for now, I think that's the end of our WandaVision discussion. I'd like to thank Ariel, Shoba, and Ryan for joining me in this discussion. And yeah, go MCU.
Oh hey Mel, why aren't you wearing a mask? You're not following COVID guidelines.
Oh my gosh, I forgot! Good thing Nuremberg provides us with masks.
Now that we're all following the guidelines, let's go on to the next segment.
I'd say that the weirdest thing is doing all my classes online despite being on campus.
I would say that the weirdest thing about being back at Burt is being in the dining hall during lunchtime and having to scream diagonally to this man over here so that he can hear my conversation, but he doesn't end up hearing it. Everyone else in the dining hall ends up hearing it because I'm screaming at him.
I think the most weird thing about being on campus is, especially in the dining hall, like the plastic dividers.
The weirdest thing about being on campus is the socially distanced rule. I find that every time I'm walking from a different building, or if I come across someone who's walking the opposite direction, I make extra room between us.
Probably just like not catching myself when I'm like singing in the hallway at my in my dorm.
Okay, the weirdest thing for me about being back on campus is having to reserve specific times to go in the practice rooms in the Center for the Arts building.
Being back at Berg, the weirdest thing for me has been the culture shock involving COVID.
The weirdest thing for me is living out of my room. I wasn't somebody who spent a lot of time in my room before, and so now it's kind of weird. I don't like it.
I think the weirdest thing about being back on campus is seeing everyone, but like the fact of like everyone has a different like level of how they want to like greet you or interact with you, and some people like when they try to hug you just have this awkward ass interaction of like, oh, we can't do that, you know, like this girl tried to hug me and like, you know, I was dumb awkward. So.
One of the hobbies Hannah and I picked up over quarantine was painting.
I think mine's pretty good.
Hi, welcome back to MBC. I'm Julie, and today I'm going to be going over some of the basics of knitting with you all. I'm a complete beginner, so I'm going to be learning as I go. Shout out to the Muhlenberg Knitwits, which is our knitting club here on campus, for the knitting supplies. If you have yarn and knitting needles, please feel free to follow along with me, and if not, I hope you can watch and learn something. To make the slip knot, you're going to take the yarn and hold it out and then make a loop with the yarn. So I'm overlapping it to make a loop. Now I'm going to take the strand of yarn and put it in the center of the loop from behind, and then I'm going to pull that yarn through and tighten it, and then there's my slip knot. Next, tie the slip knot around the knitting needle. For the long tail cast on, you want to make sure that the long tail is facing you. Then you're going to take 2 fingers like that, and you're going to make a diamond shape. So once again, take 2 fingers and make a diamond shape, and then make sure that the 2 fingers with the diamond shape are facing towards you. Then you're going to once you open up the yarn threads into a diamond shape, you're going to touch your thumb with the needle and bring it through the loop. Then you're going to turn your hand, go through the second loop, and then back through the original loop and pull down. And now you're going to repeat this step, and you will continue to repeat this step for as many stitches as your pattern calls for.
So that's it for this episode of MBC. I'm your host, Hannah Wolf.
And I'm your host, Mallory Goldsmith.
And remember to stay classy, mules!